much stronger. Man, I've been waiting all night, man. That's how long I've been on ya. I need you right now. I need you right now. Let's get lost tonight. You could be my Black Kate Moss tonight.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Ryan, and I would like to welcome you into the first ever rendition of the Ball Shop. So moving forward, Ball Shop is going to be covering multiple different areas of NFL knowledge at a high level, of course. And we're going to be talking about future markets, talking about taking advantage of some of the discrepancies and some of the lines and where we see value specifically. We're going to be talking about a lot about Dynasty. Been getting involved a lot in Dynasty rankings. We'll probably be putting some videos out on those later on in the process once the draft ends up happening. We'll be doing some underdog drafts. We'll be talking about some discrepancies when it comes to ADPs and where we like to take advantage of certain players. And we're just going to be teaching you guys a lot of different tips that I've learned throughout my time doing drafts, obviously, or betting. And we're just going to be teaching those who are unaware how to kind of do these type of things. So without further ado, let's hop into our first episode. So today we are going to be presenting the NFL win totals. They're going to be brought to you by FanDuel. Obviously, there's multiple different places you can find these win totals. I highly recommend shopping these lines, but for now, we're just going to be doing FanDuel. So you should be seeing my screen now. We're going to just be hopping one after the next from team to team and just kind of be talking what I think is going to happen and which ones I specifically like the most. So to start, we're going to be talking with the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals are probably one of the worst teams in the league. They are obviously in a tad bit of trouble when it comes to what exactly they are going to do with the DeAndre Hopkins situation. They obviously got Shane Steichen coming over from the Cardinals. Not sure about that hiring, but we'll see how it pays off. But yeah, they are just in a world of trouble with Kyler Murray expected to miss probably at least half of the season. And obviously there's no reason to rush him back with how bad they're likely to be. I mean, he probably won a good draft pick. So without further ado, they are over 5.5 wins, under 5.5 wins. Under 5.5 wins is minus 152. So obviously there's a slight lean to the likelihood of under 5.5 hitting compared to the over 5.5. I mean, personally, if I'm betting anything, I'm probably just not touching this because I would bet the under 5.5. I just think this team is going to be flat out terrible. And I think they're genuinely in the argument for likely the number one pick in the draft. So if I'm picking anything, it's going under, but there's not much here. It's minus 152. Sure. I mean, you could still maybe lay that, but I prefer to find better values when it comes to those. Moving forward, we have Falcons. Now there's over under 7.5, minus 110 for both sides. So there's no lean. To me specifically, I think the Falcons are going to be a lot better than what people maybe anticipate, and specifically from Desmond Ridder. I do think Desmond Ridder has two elite assets within Drake London and Kyle Pitts. Those guys are both, quite frankly, very good football players. Drake London was only 21 coming into last year. If you go back and look at the target shares that he was obtaining when Desmond Ridder was playing football towards the end of the year, I mean, he was getting targeted at least like 7-8 times a game from Desmond. So that's obviously promising. Kyle Pitts wasn't there at the time. So adding just another explosive weapon that's quite frankly a unicorn at the tight end position with what he brings to the table. I think that could be a very fun offense to watch, a young and explosive offense. And I'm excited to see what Arthur Smith has to do with there. But if I'm betting this line, I personally am higher on the Falcons and the Buccaneers compared to Saints and Panthers in the market right now. So I will go over 7.5. It's a good line. I would not be probably betting this. 7.5 is a very fair line, but I would probably have them projecting to win like 8 games and finishing second in this division. So we'll go over here. Baltimore Ravens, another weird line. Nobody really knows what's going on with Lamar Jackson. The trade rumors, blah, 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 blah. A lot of smoke, just media trying to get media attention. So, I mean, I don't really know what to think here. I quite frankly think that Lamar will stay on the Ravens. I don't think they're really going to get somebody to match his contract. And I think he's just going to end up playing with the Ravens this year. So I'd probably lean over here. Once again, juiced minus 144. Unders plus 118. I mean, if you think that Lamar is gone and that he's going to go to the Colts or wherever else realistically he could go, but I mean, I think it's just pure crazy talk if you're thinking Ravens. He's not playing on the Ravens this year. So I'll go over 8.5, but I'm not going to be touching either one of these once again. Moving forward, we have Bills. Bills are over under 10.5. Bills are obviously a good football team. Josh Allen, great quarterback, continues to struggle when it comes time to actually win the games in the playoffs, but they are a good team. Obviously, if the Jets do in fact get Aaron Rodgers, which I do believe they will, division is going to be a little bit more difficult. Obviously, you have Tua and the Dolphins, who are not half bad either, but they got a lot of holes to fill. Jets are a more well-rounded roster, but I mean, at over under 10.5, I think you got to go over here. Obviously, it's minus 130 for a reason, but once again, I'm going to go over. So I guess we've started with 3 overs. So I don't know how that works, but we'll keep moving. Now Panthers is actually one of my favorite bets to bet. I actually already have placed a large sum of money on under 7.5 plus 116. I think that is just way too good of a value at plus money. Now, basically breaking this down, this is going to be once again rehashed at the end of this video when I talk about some of my most favorite bets to make. I would get this right now. Quite frankly, I don't see how this line moves anywhere other than the under direction. I'm in at over 7.5 minus 142. When you look at that roster, I just really don't see how you can argue that this team is going to be that good. I mean, yes, they have a good defense, but they are likely going to be picking Stroud or Bryce Young at the one spot. And unfortunately, you could argue that both of those players are going to be getting downgrades when it comes to the weapons they had. I mean, probably not Bryce Young. Bryce Young actually did not have the greatest cast of weapons at Alabama this past year. But I guess comparatively in his best year at Alabama, you could probably argue that he had better weapons. So if they do get Stroud or Bryce Young, they're going to be pairing him with a wide receiver core of Terrace Marshall, Adam Thielen, and DJ Chark, Hayden Hurst at the tight end position, Miles Sanders and Chuba Hubbard out of the backfield. I mean, there's really not much to see there. There's not much on paper when you look at that core of skill position players for that young quarterback. So, I mean, when you're telling me that you're betting over under 7.5 on a team that's going to have a rookie quarterback, is going to be throwing to the weapons that they have that are just very mid. They're not good. You could probably argue that they might be the worst skill position team in the entire league. So basically, if you're betting over 7.5, I think you're betting on a demonic top 5 defensive season, and that CJ Stroud or Bryce Young is simply competent enough to not lose football games. Obviously, they're both decently good quarterbacks. So they're going one for a reason. But I mean, the learning curve in the NFL is pretty tough. And when you're throwing to weapons that are as bad as they are on the Panthers, I really like under 7.5. I mean, I think this should be under 6.5, over under 6.5 by the time that kickoff happens in September. And quite frankly, I think the minus money should be on the under. So that's my favorite bet of the year so far. We'll keep moving on, but yep, I will be going under 7.5 here. All right, Chicago Bears. Love me some Chicago Bears football. Over under 7.5 once again. Under is plus 100, and I will be taking the under plus 100. I mean, Justin Fields showed that he can take leaps. He's an incredible rushing quarterback, but he actually is one of the worst passing quarterbacks in the league. And that's why I kind of argue that they maybe go out and get Jackson Smith-Njigba at 9. But a lot of people have not really enjoyed me saying that. So whatever, but I'm going under here. I really do think that this team is going to take a step in the right direction, but I still think there are so many underlying problems on this team and so many holes that, yes, they will fill some in the draft, and they were able to fill some by signing a lot of players in free agency with all the cap money that they had, but I still think it's going to take one more year to kind of get settled into this Fields regime and really get it figured out. But I'm going to be going under here. I think that a lot of people are expecting more than what they should for the Bears this year. And so I will be going under 7.5 plus 100 here. Bengals over under 11.5 in wins. I'm smashing the under 11.5. I really do like the Browns part of me this year. I'm a big Browns guy this year. We'll be talking about them obviously next. And then Ravens, I still think they keep Lamar. Tomlin's always been a competent coach. And I mean, he finds ways to win divisional games because obviously divisional games are harder to win than anything else. So I think just based on the division itself, I just don't see the Bengals winning over 11.5 wins. I'm going to go under -128. Moving forward, we have my Browns. Let's go Browns. Now, they get Deshaun Watson last year. He's obviously suspended for the 10, 11, I'm pretty sure it was 11 games. He comes back and he doesn't look great. But at the end of the day, he had not been with the team practicing for the entire time that he was suspended. So obviously he's going to be a little rusty. He's going to be coming back in and just trying to get back into that little rhythm. Didn't look great, like I said, but coming into this year with a full offseason to prepare with all of his weapons, they go out and they trade for Elijah Moore to just get him even more assets. You have Nick Chubb out of the backfield, this top 5 offensive line likely in the league. Great young defense. I mean, I am in love with this team this year. I bet them to win the division at plus 430. That's moved down to roughly 315, I believe, on FanDuel. It could have moved a little bit more, but it's right around in that area. But over 9.5, getting plus money. I quite frankly think this team might win the division. Obviously, that's why I bet it. I bet it because of the great value that it lies in. But I'm a little lower on the Bengals this year and very high on the Browns. So I actually bet this on, I believe it was Barstool Sportsbook. I was able to get it at over plus 123, 9.5 wins. So that is one of my other favorite bets. I will be hammering over 9.5 plus wins. So I think you should as well. Going forward, we got Cowboys over under 9.5 wins once again. Over -144, under plus 116. Now, this is obviously a decent line. Eagles are favored to win this division once again. They go out and they trade for Brandon Cooks. They lose Kellen Moore. McCarthy is apparently going to be calling the plays, which makes me kind of want to scratch my head. I have a very sharp Cowboys buddy. He claims that McCarthy is really trying to get back to some old smash mouth Cowboys football, and that TP is going to be a weapon of mass destruction like Zeke once was back in his earlier years. So I lean under 9.5 wins. I'd have to look more in depthly into their schedule and really see who they exactly play. But with McCarthy being in charge of the offensive play calling, I really do not like that. Hopefully they continue to give it to their best players in CD and Tony Pollard, but with I'm very not a big fan of McCarthy. I'm going to go under 9.5 here at plus 116. Moving forward, we have the Broncos. Broncos are over under 8.5. Now, the biggest problem with the Broncos is just simply the division they are in. They play the Chiefs twice a year. They play the Chargers now, who get Kellen Moore, who I quite frankly think is a very good offensive coordinator. Excuse me. He's a great offensive coordinator, and I think he's going to have a great time with this team. Justin Herbert throwing to Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and then Joshua Palmer, I think, is an underrated player. And then, I mean, they could very well be drafting a wide receiver or possibly a running back. I don't think Eckler has as much leverage as a lot of people think he does. I saw some stupid report where after the Jags 27-0 comeback, when in the shower he called Justin Herbert a long-haired Matt Ryan. I mean, that is the most absurd thing I've ever seen. And if you are reporting that, you are a sad, sad human being. So go touch some grass, bud. But with that being said, I'm going to be going under 8.5 here. I do like the Sean Payton hiring. I do like that Russell Wilson has a bounce back year. But when it just comes to simply how many games they're going to be winning, I think I lean under 8.5. I think they do win probably right around 8. So I'd go under 8.5 here with -122. Not one of my more favorite bets in the league, or my favorite bets to do, but one that I think is probably leaning the under for me. Detroit Lions, over under 9.5. There's a lot of hype going on with this Lions team. How can you not love them? I mean, Dan Campbell's an absolute electric factory. Jared Goff, he's a decent quarterback, and this team, and obviously the hard knocks help, but yeah, this team is just hard to not root for. So I think a lot of people are going to be betting the over here. I'm also going to be betting under 9.5 for this team as well. I just think that this division is going to be a lot more competitive than people think it is. Vegas is giving the Lions a lot of credit when it comes to their expectations for them finishing in first for the division. They are the favorites right now. I think it's a little too rich for my blood. I'm going to be going under 9.5. I can see that division being won with 9-8 wins, but we will see. Going forward, we have the Green Bay Packers. Now, I think that the Green Bay Packers are underrated in the marketplace right now. Now, Aaron Rodgers, I expect, is gone. But I think Jordan Love coming in is going to be a really nice change of pace for the Packers. Now, he's not Aaron Rodgers. He's not a top 5 quarterback of all time, but he did, in fact, sit behind him for 3 years and learn. And I mean, there's nothing truly better than sitting behind a player like that and simply learning why he does what he does, watching his every move, and just learning the game from an outside view, watching this top 5 quarterback. So, in my eyes, I am very, very high on what Jordan Love can possibly do. He's going into his 4th year. I'm sure they're going to do the 5th-year player option on him. I mean, it's pretty much a no-brainer. Why would you not? Even if he shows a little bit of glimpses of flash, you're not going to sign him to a contract. You're going to give him that 5th-year player option. You're going to see what he has one more time, and then you're going to decide whether this guy is the quarterback that you're going to give a contract to. Now, they have Christian Watson. They have Romeo Doubs. They lose Allen Lazard. At pick 15, they're pretty much looking like they're going to get either Michael Mayer or Dalton Kincaid, because tight end is currently favored in the marketplace for what position the Packers take, or the wide receiver position. Now, there's been rumors to Jackson Smith and the Jigba at 15. I don't think he falls that far. Zay Flowers is now in the betting markets, the second highest likelihood of going off the boards first. So possibly Zay Flowers. You have Quentin Johnston. You have Jordan Addison. Obviously, all these guys are possibly Packers, but we will see what they do in the draft. But I do think they will go offense and try to get Jordan Love another weapon to play with. Aaron Jones obviously is fantastic. He'll be a great safety blanket. I'm going to go over here, minus 104. This is actually one of my more favorite bets. I also like betting the Packers to win the division. I'm a lot lower on the Bears and Lions than consensus, and I'm much higher with Packers. So I will be saying Packers over 7.5. We'll talk about this later, because this is one of my more favorite bets. Going forward, we have Texans. Texans over under 5.5. Now, I expect Stroud to go to the Panthers, and I expect the Texans to take Bryce Young. And now, if this is the reality, I do, in fact, like over 5.5 here. They do play the Colts twice a year. They play the Titans twice a year. Two of these two teams I really do expect to be two of the worst teams in the league. So possibly securing a couple divisional wins, that could be big. But I'm going to go over 5.5 here. I really do like the D'Amico Ryan signing. I think he's going to be a great person, character for the locker room. I think that locker room is going to be a very wonderful place to be. I think Bryce Young paired with John Mechie, you pair them, they get rid of Brandon Cooks, but I think at 12, they're most likely going to get another skill position player, possibly a wide receiver. Maybe you can argue that they go Bijan, even though they have Damian Pierce since they signed Singletary. But I really do think that this team could be quite good if they do go wide receiver, give Bryce Young some options to throw to. You have Dalton Schultz, who they signed in free agency to a 1-year contract. Nico Collins is young. I think he's going to be going into his 3rd year. But no, you basically have to hope that John Mechie is going to come back and be ready to go for the season. Obviously, he's been battling with leukemia, so prayers up to him, and hopefully he's feeling better. But no, they do expect him, I believe, to be playing at the start of this season. Obviously, the recovery process is different for everyone, so we're going to have to see how that goes. But I do like 5.5 here at minus 104 over. Going forward, we have the sad Indianapolis Colts. I mean, this team is just the definition of just poverty. I mean, 3 years removed from Phillip Rivers, then 2 years removed from sad man Carson Wentz. And then last year, they get the corpse of Matt Ryan. I mean, this is where old men go to die. They bury themselves in Indianapolis, and they just call it quits. But, I mean, my goodness, it has been pretty funny to watch. I mean, it is objectively hilarious what has gone down in the last 3 seasons for the Colts. I mean, this team is just sad. Over under 6.5, hammering the under. I think they could go Will Levis here at pick 4 in the draft. Some people don't even think Will Levis goes till the 2nd round. I don't know. I feel like the Colts MO totally fits Will Levis's mayonnaise coffee drinking ass. I mean, he's a weird dude. But yeah, no, I'm going to say Will Levis goes pick 4 to the Colts, and then they are horrible. How about that? Over? Nope. Under 6.5, minus 104. Jacksonville Jags. Now, this is just a wonderful line to see. Over under 9.5 wins for my Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm just kidding. They're not my Jacksonville Jaguars. The next team up is actually my team, but I do root for the Jags. I love T-Law. It's hard to not root for the Jags. One of my good buddies is a big Jags guy, and he's been through them, been with them through thick and thin, and he just gives me it's heartwarming to see his love for the game continue to grow and grow. And now with Doug Peterson and this T-Law regime, things are only looking up and possibly up for quite a while. So fingers crossed. They're getting Calvin Ridley now. I love that trade for them. It's a conditional trade, so depending on how Calvin Ridley does, it'll depend on what type of draft pick they're giving to the Atlanta Falcons. So I think it depends on play time and then X amount of receiving yards. And we'll see how that goes. But no, I really do like this trade. Christian Kirk, obviously, people were saying how ridiculous of a free agency signing that was based on how much money they gave him. But the sad reality is that you got to overpay to get people to come to Jacksonville. But I mean, now with T-Law, it's like, do they really? So I think obviously they may have paid a bit over fair market value for Christian Kirk last year. But I mean, he showed up and he played football. He played damn good football. And so now with this division, it's theirs for the taking. I don't think the Colts are going to be good. I think the Titans are going to be horrible. Texans are on the come up, but they're still not going to be good. I'm going to go over 9.5 here. I think they can easily finish with a 5-1, a 6-0 divisional record. But as we always say, divisional games are much easier said than done. So Jacksonville over 9.5 -132. My Kansas City Chiefs. This is my team. My Kansas City Chiefs. Mine. Shout out to my friend Chuck Pills. How you doing, bud? But over 11.5, under 11.5. I mean, obviously they have the largest win total in the marketplace shared by the Bengals. It's funny to see that over is favored for the Chiefs as it should be. Not to toot my own horn here, but it is good to be a Chiefs fan. It's always fun to see this line. But when you have Mahomes at quarterback, anything's possible. I'm pretty sure they've gone over this number, I mean, every single year. So we'll go over once again. You just don't bet against Patrick Mahomes, plain and simple. Vegas Raiders. One of my buddies already bet this. I'm pretty sure he got it right around this line, but he hammered under 7.5. If I'm betting anything, it's going to be under 7.5. Jimmy G comes in there. He's going to be thrown to Devontae Adams, Renfro. They trade away Waller. I mean, they get Jacoby Myers, who literally won them a football game last year. So that's always funny to see that they did in fact sign him after that. But I'm going to go under here. It's -160, but I mean, this might be the lock of the century. Obviously, they finished 4th last year in the divisions. Did they finish last? I don't even know. Maybe the Broncos finished last, but I think it might have been the Raiders. But they'll probably have a weak schedule considering how bad they were last year. But I'm going to go under 7.5. I just don't physically see a realm of possible ways that they get to 8 wins in this division specifically. So under 7.5, there's a reason it's -160. Chargers, over under 9.5. I really think the biggest part of the Chargers being held back in the past few years is their just lack of competency at the offensive coordinator position. Joe Lombardi just has no idea how to run an offense with Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, and Mike Williams and Austin Eckler on your team. I mean, it's pretty mind-blowing to see like the amount of just checkdowns that Justin Herbert was throwing. I could go on a rant right now. I'm not going to. I'm going to say over 9.5. Kellen Moore is going to make this offense a top 5 passing attack in the league. I'm very excited to see what happens. They were one of the most injury-riddled teams in the league last year, probably up there with the Bucs. I would say Bucs were probably one of them too. But they lost Rashawn Slater. Mike Williams could never stay healthy. Keenan Allen was not staying healthy. I mean, get all these assets back. Obviously, Keenan and Mike Williams are big-time risks for injury. They seem to never be able to stay healthy. But going into this year, I think over 9.5 is a great bet. Might be one of my favorite top 5 bets to bet this season. Moving forward, we got the Rams. Rams over under 7.5 +112 for the over, -142 under 7.5. I personally like over. I think this is a great bounce back opportunity for a team that just came off winning the Super Bowl. Obviously, everything essentially went wrong. Matt Stafford was already hurt going into the season. He looked like he was uncomfortable throwing the football. Then he proceeds to get the concussion, or like midway through the season, proceeds to just play it safe. They just keep Stafford out, and they just choose to just sit him and just get him fully healthy. So he's already come back out, and he said he's not retiring. He's going to be playing football. Sean McVay thought about stepping away from football, decided not to. I think it's smart at the end of the day. Both this coach and this quarterback are not the type of guys to go, all right, we won our Super Bowl. Now we're just going to call it quits after 1 year of just being in the dumpster fire. No, I think they're going to go through this rebuild, and they're going to try to figure it out in the next couple of years and see what happens. They still have one of the best wide receivers in the league in Cooper Kupp. They signed A-Rob, who obviously does not look like he has much juice left, but give him one more year. I'd like to see what he has this year. Like to see what he has one more time. So I'm not counting out A-Rob yet. He was a great wide receiver back in the day. Obviously, he doesn't look like the player he once was, but let's give him one more year. How about that? Defensive-wise, they're kind of shipping off just key assets. But I do think this offense and this Sean McVay has an offensive mind will be able to keep them pretty competitive in a lot of games. And I think this is actually within the dynasty community one of the best buy low opportunities of all time with Matthew Stafford. We'll be obviously talking about him a lot when we start talking about dynasty on this podcast. Over 7.5 plus 112. Dolphins over 9.5, under 9.5. This is a tricky line. I'm probably going under here just based on the fact that I do think that Aaron Rodgers heads to the Jets and that the Bills are the Bills. They have a lot of holes in this team. Obviously, nothing more fun to throw to than Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, especially when you have a demonic head coach like Mike McDaniel drawing up the plays. I mean, all respect to Mike McDaniels, pardon me. He might be my favorite coach in the league. I absolutely love this guy. He's absolutely hilarious too. I mean, I'm going to go under, but Mike, prove me wrong. I love you. Minnesota Vikings over under 8.5. They were probably the team last year that probably won more games than expected out of the entire league. They won so many one possession games last year. It was pretty crazy. I think they were like 13-1, 12-1, 10-1. I don't know the exact number, but it was it was a statistical anomaly to say the least. Now over 8.5, under 8.5. Once again, I am lower on the Lions. I'm lower on the Bears. I'm higher on the Packers. And I'm probably right around consensus when it comes to the Minnesota Vikings. I think they're an 8 or 9 win team. There's a reason these lines are pretty similar when it comes to the over and under values. This is a tricky one, actually. I've really not even thought about this because they've kind of been at the back of my mind when it comes to thinking about the NFC North. Over under 8.5. It's as perfect as it can be. But I will lean. Oh man, I'll lean over. I'll go over. Kevin O'Connell, I think, is a solid coach. Kirk, competent quarterback. Just fumbles the bag anytime he needs to actually win a football game, though. I mean, just the definition of mediocrity. But he's got J-Jet to throw to. That's always fun, too. Shout out to J-Jet. Won me some money on Offensive Player of the Year last year. So, salute to you. Let's go over 8.5. Patriots. Over under 7.5. I will be going under 7.5. I think this team finishes last in the division. Mac Jones, we know what he is. He's really nothing more than just a game manager. Is he even a game manager? I mean, I don't know. Kind of, maybe. He's thrown to Juju Smith-Schuster. They're probably going to get a wide receiver, but we all know how the track record of drafting wide receivers at the Pats goes. Not well is how it goes. Not well at all. Under 7.5 plus 106. Saints. Now, I already bet this line. I bet under 9.5 at plus 100 when it first came out. I think the Saints are wildly overvalued currently. At plus 100, I thought it was a decent value. I figured that it would move slightly to the under, and now they're both minus 110. I expect this to continue to move to the under as the season continues to move closer and closer. I'm going to go under here still. I think Derek Carr is overrated. Chris Olave, while he's a great second-year player not coming in, but just second-year player at the wide receiver position, they don't really have much else. Alvin Kamara is probably going to be suspended for 8 games. He did a no-no. He did a no-no. Yeah, and I don't know if you've seen the video. We're not going to talk about the video, but Alvin Kamara will probably be suspended for about 8 games. Jamal Williams, they signed him to probably compliment him when he does return, but Jamal could possibly have a very large role while Alvin Kamara is out. Benjamin's on that team. I'm an Benjamin truther, absolute stand for Benjamin. Love that guy to death. Hope he finds a role, carves out a role this year for the Saints. Fingers crossed. Going under -110. I think this team is old. I think this team needs to call it a wash and finally rebuild, but they refuse to. But here we are. So under -110, under 9.5, -110. That's what we're going to be going with. Moving forward, we have Giants. Giants are over under 8.5, over plus 118, under -144. Another good line. Dable, past year, coach of the year. Obviously exceeded expectations significantly. Daniel Jones looks a lot better with a good offensive play caller around him. Saquon has a bounce back year after obviously continuing to re-injure certain ligaments. But I'm going to say, once again, another great line. These 8.5 lines I'm not feeling good about. These feel like they're priced quite well. But under is -144. So just simply due to that, I will bet on Dable and I will bet on Danny Dimes, which I don't like doing at all because I just don't think he's very good. But we will go over 8.5 just simply because it's plus 118. Obviously, not one of my favorite bets, so do not take that with a grain of salt. New York Jets, over under 9.5. I mean, with Rodgers coming in, I don't see how they win less than 10 games. I will be going over here. I think it's pretty locked up that they go Rodgers. If they don't, they're just going to be stuck in purgatory with possibly one of the best young rosters in the league, and all they're missing is a quarterback. When you have a top 5 quarterback that you can potentially grab to pair with the offensive rookie of the year, the defensive rookie of the year, and then quite possibly the other offensive rookie of the year in Breece Hall, who tore his ACL in like week 6. I mean, it's quite incredible how well they have been drafting these past few years. I mean, this team is so young. They have so many good players that are just on cheap rookie deals. They need to go get Aaron Rodgers. Their Super Bowl window is the next year or 2 or 3. They got to figure it out. They need to go get him. Give me over 9.5, -134. I would not be betting this at -134. I would shop around, see if you can get it. Potentially, I would alt line 10.5 wins, see if you can get that at plus money. That'd be an interesting strategy. Over Jets. We got Eagles. Eagles are 10.5, under 10.5. They lost so many players this year, but I don't think it matters. I love this team. I love how they are run. Nick Sirianni's a weird guy. Don't get me wrong. He's pretty weird, but I'm going to be going over 10.5 for the Eagles. I think they continue their dominant, efficient offensive style with Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, and Devontae Smith only having an extra year to work with each other. They lose Miles Sanders. I do not think that's that big of a deal. I do like Kenny Gainwell. He's obviously doesn't project as a full workload back. He's a little smaller, but he's got agility and he's a great pass catcher. I think he can make a year 3 jump slightly. I'm sure they're going to go out and possibly draft another running back. They did get Rashad Penny, who looks to be the bruiser type back that will replace Miles Sanders on the goal line and obviously in short down carries, short yardage carries, excuse me. But yeah, I'll go over 10.5 here. I really do like the Eagles. I respect Howie Roseman as much as any GM in this league. He knows what he's doing. So once again, they traded their pick last year to the Saints and moved back to get one this year. So they got 2 draft picks in the first. I'm sure Howie Roseman will figure out some good players to grab and replace some pieces that they do need to replace. Steelers over under 8.5. Obviously a good line. You've seen the stat. Tomlin has never finished under 500 before in his career. If you're going under, you're simply betting against the trend. I don't think Kenny Pickett's the guy. I think Ravens get Lamar back, as I said. I think Deshaun and the Browns take a major leap in the marketplace and that they are, quite frankly, the divisional winners this year. And then you have Joe Burrow and the Bengals. So as much as it pains me to bet against Mike Tomlin, I'm going to be going under here. And I, quite frankly, really like the under at 8.5. I really do like the under at 8.5. This could be one of my 5 favorite bets. So Niners Over under 11.5. We have no idea what's going on. I mean, it's a bunch of just hoopla. I mean, I don't know what to expect. John Lynch comes out and says Brock Purdy's won the job. He's probably going to be the starter. But then again, we don't even know if Brock's surgery is going to be ready off this UCL surgery, if he's going to be able to be throwing the ball and comfortably at least and be ready for week one. They traded an immense amount of draft capital to go up and get Trey Lance 2 years ago. He gets injured in his second game this season. He sits behind Jimmy G his first year. I mean, it's just a really weird situation here in the San Francisco area. I don't know what I expect exactly. I mean, I think you need to go Trey Lance here and see what he has, because if you do not, then you are simply making probably one of the worst trades of all time. You're not even giving your guy a chance to win the job. Like, sure, you see what he has in practice, so you can actually assess it and realize whether you think he's going to be able to make this leap and play competent football in the NFL. But like, without even giving him a chance to play in game situations, I don't know. It's hard to say. His sample size is what? A monsoon in Chicago and about a half against a division rival in Seattle. I mean, you got to go Trey Lance to start this season. If he doesn't look like the player you want him to look like, I mean, you go back to Brock. Kyle Shanahan was hyping up Sam Darnold. I mean, it's Sam Darnold, guys. Come on, dude. Relax, man. Jeez, calm down. It's Sam Darnold. Please, just okay, please. But I think they start with Trey Lance. If he struggles, they go Brock. I'm going to go under 11.5 here at minus 144, just simply because of the uncertainty. I don't know what to expect. It's not a line I'm betting. There's a reason it's minus 144 for the under, but I would be betting under 11.5. Seahawks, I like under 8.5 here. This is one of my more favorite bets. I think the Seahawks outperformed expectations similarly to the Giants and the Vikings this year. I think that this year they are going to regress back to the mean slightly. I don't think Geno's going to have as good of a year. Offensive weapons are there. I'm going to just simply go under. There's not much analysis to this. I think that they are not as good as they played last year, and that it will show this year. I'm going to go under 8.5. I think Rams finish second in that division. Buccaneers, over under 6.5. One of my favorite bets. I love over 6.5. My thought process is when you comparatively look at what Baker Mayfield brings to this team and then what Tom Brady brought to this team, I mean, are you really going that much to a downgrade? Obviously, Baker makes key mistakes in key situations, which is something Tom typically does not do. So maybe you can fault him on that. But when it comes to simply being able to find players downfield, I mean, he's got the arm strength to do so. He's much more mobile, so it opens up the playbook to run a little bit more unique concepts, whereas Tom's obviously stuck in the pocket because he's an old, sad, decrepit man. You are, Tom. You are a sad, old, decrepit man, and you miss Giselle. Don't lie to yourself. But yeah, so I'm going to go over here. I think the downgrade from Brady to Baker is not as significant as most people think, and the fact that they are the lowest odds to win that division, I've already bet on them, plus 600 to win the division. I think that this overall roster is still pretty darn good. Todd Bowles was not the best coach, but can you argue that maybe he was a decent coach, but the fact that Brady's on your team and he has to get everything his way is potentially why maybe they were just not a good locker room? I think Baker could be a very good piece for this locker room. He's a very fun guy. He's very energetic, and he just loves the game. So, I mean, this could possibly be the amp that they need, but over 6.5, one of my favorite bets. I've already bet them to win division at plus 600. You can find that on DraftKings. Over 6.5, minus 122 here. Obviously, shop around, find the best odds, but this is one of my more favorite bets. Moving forward, we have the Titans over 7.5 wins. Plus 100, under 7.5, minus 122. Once again, low on the Titans, higher on the Texans, lower on the Colts, and then I'm obviously pretty much at market with our consensus with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Titans, I can really see them starting out 2-5. 2-6, and kind of just realizing that the Ryan Tannehill of football with the Tennessee Titans is quite frankly over. With that being said, I think that they could pivot off to Malik Willis and just kind of give him the team to just burn into the ground. He's not the answer. We saw what he was last year. Obviously, we can give him another year to progress, develop, but he doesn't really have weapons around him where it's like you're going to feel good about it. So I think that halfway through the season, they might be going with Malik Willis, realizing that they're going to probably try to be shooting for a top 3 to 5 pick and hopefully maybe lock up Drake May or Caleb Williams. But obviously, because of that, I'm going to hammer under 7.5. This is once again one of my more favorite bets. I really do like Titans under 7.5. Vrabel's a good coach. You can never count him out. He's a competitor. So it makes you wonder whether they are, in fact, going to be competing regardless. But with the new GM coming in, I think it's in their best interest to play this smart and make this a rebuilding year and just somewhat of a gap year. Under 7.5, minus 122. Washington Commanders, over under 6.5. Another good line. Don't really know what to expect. Sam Howell's going to be coming in. He's got some weapons to throw to in Derry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson. This is a good line. I'm not going to lie. This is a good line. I'll go slightly over. I'll go over 6.5. They won 7 games. I'm not going to give much analysis to this. I really do not have much to say. We'll just say over 6.5. Don't take it too deeply. But now we're going to go back over and kind of talk about our 5 favorite bets that we would actually recommend making right this instant, because I think that there's a good chance that as this offseason progresses, and when I say this instant, next week, next couple weeks, possibly most specifically before the draft, which is in, I believe, 3 weeks, a little less than 3 weeks. Yesterday was Thursday, so 3 weeks from yesterday. Yeah, I think we are going to be going with the top 5. One of my favorites, I just talked about it, the Buccaneers. I love Buccaneers over 6.5. I really don't think the downgrade from Brady to Baker is that serious, and they still have a lot of their key pieces remaining on that team. That's one of my favorites. I may be coming back to Titans. I'm going to just scroll through here and look and tell you. I would say Rams, but no, I'm not going to say Rams. I would say Raiders as well, but under is minus 160, so we're not going to be talking about that. Colts under 6.5, minus 104. Once again, one of my more favorite bets. Really do like that one. Packers over 7.5 wins, minus 104. Really like that one. So I got 3 so far. Browns over 9.5, plus 114. Love that one. Like I said, you can get it at Barstool for plus 123. Better odds. Go do that. Like I say, when you're making these bets, I highly recommend to get on as many sports books as you physically can so you can go shop these lines and make sure you're getting the best value. Because on here, we have Panthers, plus 116. That is where I bet it, because plus 116 is the best under bet I could find. On DraftKings, it's plus 100. Why would you bet $100 to win $100 when you can go on FanDuel and bet $100 to win $116? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. You go shop these lines, and that is how you beat the sports book. Simply, you shop lines and you make sure you're getting the best bang for your buck, and that is how you beat the sports books, folks. So I'm telling you, if you are just a low-key better, you bet simply on FanDuel, then you're doing it wrong. And if you're betting small amounts of money and you just do it for fun, then do it like that. Bet on FanDuel, continue to bet on FanDuel, and just do what you like to do. If you're betting $5, $10, $20, sure, go do that. But if you're looking to profit off of these sports books, you need to go shop lines and you need to find the best values in the marketplace and take advantage of them. Because, I mean, that is what I do. I was profitable last year. I'm looking to continue that and be profitable this year. And because of that, I'm simply shopping from sportsbook to sportsbook, finding the best odds in the marketplace. So go look for these lines. If you like something, go make sure that it's the best value in the marketplace. Go bet it on the best marketplace. But like I said, Panthers, under lock. Panthers and Browns, my 2 favorites. Love Bucks. Really do like Titans. I do like Titans quite a bit. I don't mind Rams. I'd like Colts under. I like Packers over. Other than that, I don't mind Chicago Bears under. These are probably the lines that I like the most. So Panthers under 7.5, Browns over 9.5, Packers over 7.5, Colts under 6.5. We'll go Chargers over 9.5. I do like. Obviously, make sure you're finding the best odds. Saints under. Do like that one as well. 9.5, of course. Seahawks under 8.5. I do like that one. Buccaneers over 6.5. Titans under 7.5. My 3 favorite: Buccaneers over 6.5. Browns over 9.5. Panthers under 7.5. Those are my 3 favorite. Go bet those right now. You'll thank me later. As for this episode, I think we're calling it quits. That was kind of what we wanted to get off for the first episode. Just talking some betting lines. I'm going to try to be posting this to YouTube and making sure that everything goes seamlessly. Hopefully this gets up today. We're going to start making some more podcasts too. Not entirely sure what the next one's going to be. I think the next one's going to be me kind of talking about the optimal way to go about drafting a dynasty team. There's no true optimal way. It's obviously based upon league. So we'll be talking about that next. Not sure when that's going to come out. We're going to do some underdog drafts and talk about what exactly my thought process is on those. And then we'll talk some NFL draft futures markets. But yeah, I wanted to start by just kind of talking about where I project a lot of these lines to move and where I like value currently. So with that being said, guys, this was the first episode of the Ball Shop. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hopefully the user interface is decent for YouTube. Like, I think I'm just sharing my screen right now. I have my video camera down in the bottom right. Hopefully my audio quality was good. But yeah, leave a comment. Let me know what you thought. Always down to talk some football. You can follow me at Dr. Archibald on Twitter. That's typically where I tweet and talk about football. Other than that, I will be creating some social media platforms for the specific podcast and YouTube channel, and we'll be getting moving on that. So yeah, without further ado, guys, thanks for listening to the pod. And I am Ryan, and I will talk to you guys next time. See ya.